Welcome to Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games. I'm your host, Meme Sanchez. Here we don't just talk sports. We tell the stories behind the hustle, the heart, and the hometown heroes. From Pee-wee dreams to Friday night lights, from dusty back roads to championship runs, this is where the past meets the present and the game becomes a legacy. This is Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games. That's my bad. I already made a mistake. Welcome back to Beyond the Game, Cotulla Backroads and Ball Games, where the past meets the present and the game becomes a legacy. I'm your host, Meme Sanchez, and today's episode is a special one. We're sitting down with the Cotulla legend, a man who played under Friday night lights here in our town, took his talents to Texas A&M, where he walked on to one of the biggest college football stages in the country, and eventually made it to the NFL. Please welcome Mike Whitwell to the show. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Maybe hurt.
I'm doing fine. Trying to beat the heat, which is kind of tough to do here in Cotulla.
Yeah, but we just know that. Way of life.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that complains about the cold, though. So once the heat gets here, I guess I got to deal with it. So, Mr. Whitwell, it's truly an honor to have you here with us. I like we spoke. You were probably the most requested guest that I've ever had. People just kept telling me, whenever I would ask for suggestions, Mr. Whitwell, you got to get Mr. Whitwell. And I tried. And like I said, my phone number looks like spam. I have several people tell me that. They'll ignore my calls. And I'm not saying that that's what you were doing, but I can understand if that's what the idea that you had every time you saw that 210 number popping up.
I'm glad you got help.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad we got this going. Let's dive right in, because I know there's so many people here in town that are ready to hear your story.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's take it back to the beginning. I just mentioned you were born in Kennedy. Your father was a principal at Pettis. When did you make your way to Cotulla?
Well, my parents lived here. Man, he was wanting to get out of high school business, so he had an opportunity to come to Cotulla and work, and so we moved here this summer before I started the first grade.
Oh, okay. So you did practically grow up in Cotulla then?
Yeah, I went to all schools.
What was that life like, especially as a kid growing up, back then?
I mean, we grew up in an age kids were outside. Most of the houses didn't have air conditioning, and so the mothers didn't want us in the house. We didn't want to be in the house, so we were playing football or baseball or hide and seek or whatever you could think of outside. So we had to go home. It was pretty good place to grow up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just a small town community. Everybody knows everybody. So if you decide to be mischievous, I'm sure it wasn't hard to get to your parents.
No, it was easy to get in trouble.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix my cap here. Keeps getting in my face. What are some of your favorite memories that you can go back to about growing up in Cotulla when you were younger?
We were my age group were really lucky. When I was 9, it was the first year we had kid baseball. Well, but it was kid baseball. And they built a field out by the Legion Hall. You probably thought it was a broke down thing by the time you got here. But there was an old man, Johnny Flower, that took care of that field, and it was immaculate. I mean, it was great. The first year we played, I was in I think 16. I played for Carlos Pena. Mr. Pena was my coach. We won the league. I was 9 years old. They had an all-star team. They let me play on the all-star team. Played shortstop. We went to Dilly and got beat like 24-4. So we weren't very good, but we thought we were. till we got there. But it was good. The first 3 years that we lived here, I lived on a ranch, actually the ranch that I live on now. And so I tell people, I got here in the summer before I started first grade, and I had a dog named Rusty. And my mom would let me and that dog go to the river, and I'd take a 22 with me, and she'd ring a bell out in the front yard when it was time to come home. And if you sent a kid that wasn't in the first grade off with a gun and a dog, they'd put you in jail now. But it was lots of fun. It was lots of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And that's funny that you say that because so many people whenever they bring up the school guns man, everybody had a gun rack in the back of their truck, and they would take them to school.
We sure did. We sure did.
Things have changed quite a bit. So, what did y'all have middle school football?
We did. I interview with Mr. Hilge, and we had a 7th grade team and an 8th grade team. My 7th grade team, there were just 12 guys in football, and the 12th guy only got to play one play. Our center got a bloody nose on the kickoff, and he came out and put the guy in to play center. He had to know all the positions, or he said he did. But our 7th grade team, I don't remember how many games we won, but we won more games than anybody else. By the time we got to 8th grade, we had a lot of more guys come out, and we still won more games than anybody else. It's 8th grade. When we went to our freshman year, there were like 18 seniors on the varsity, and so none of us freshmen made it to varsity. But there was a 7th grade kids behind us that won every game in the 7th and 8th grade. So there was a really good bunch of kids behind us. And that's kind of middle school year.
Wow. So, do you remember? Do you recall some of your teammates that were on those teams?
Absolutely. That 7th grade bunch that ended up when we were seniors that made it. And if I missed somebody, God, us. But out of the 12, Carlos Soto, you probably know him.
Mm-hmm.
Eloy Rodriguez, Terry Childs, Rick Ramirez, Dennis Ramirez's dad here, Rick Ramirez, and myself are the ones that made it all the way to it.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. I recognize a couple of those names, that's for sure.
Yeah, some of the older people.
So, what memories stick out for you, whenever you're playing high school football?
Okay. I was telling you, many named one. When I was in the 7th and 8th grade, Cotulla's varsity didn't win a game.
Wow.
When I was a freshman, that bunch of seniors won one game. When I was a sophomore, and we made varsity, we didn't win a game. After football season, sophomore year, they hired a man named Don Tate, and everything changed. He hired people who loved track to be a track coach. He hired people who loved baseball to be the baseball coach. He got the girls the best volleyball coach he could find, and basketball coach he could find, and it all changed. My junior year, we went 5-4-1, and tied Dilly. We should have been 6-4, but we tied Dilly. My senior year, we went 7-3. We lost to Dilly 6-7. We lost to Somerset 2-0. And the one team that couldn't ever beat was Pearsall. And we were playing, we had to play them. We played Somerset the next last game of the season. And back then, only one team made it to the playoffs. And all we had to do was beat Somerset to to be co-champs didn't mean we were going to make the playoffs, because we had to still beat Pearsall. And we went up there and we lost 2-0.
Oh man, 2-0. What a game!
Oh, it was hard. It was horrible. But then we had to play Pearsall, and they beat us from 7th grade until we graduated, and I think they beat us 19-7 or something. But everything Coach Tate showed, it just changed the whole attitude and atmosphere. And by the time we were seen, we didn't think we lost. Didn't think we could lose.
Dang, that's awesome. So he completely just did a 180 on your program, on the program.
Absolutely. And again, I told a little bit about that class behind us. They were a really good class of kids, and they got a lot of freshmen and sophomores with us. And we had a lot of talent. There was a lot of talent. There was a lot of talent in our area then. We talked about this a little bit, but when I graduated, there were 2 brothers from Pearsall that stuttered and less stuttered, both played in the NFL. There were 2 brothers from Freer, Bill Acker, played in the NFL, and his brother Jim Bob could have played in the NFL, but he went and played baseball for the Atlanta Braves.
Wow.
And a guy named Steve McMichael in that same class ended up being an NFL Hall of Famer. Mark Mattingly from Gilly at the University of Houston got the chance to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what's his name? Jim Bob Taylor was actually the quarterback on that Somerset team that beat us 2-0. And he went to SMU. And when they got the death penalty, he transferred to Georgia Tech and ended up playing for the Colts. So
Wow.
it was a highlight of football players in our area during that 4 to 6 year period of time.
Oh yeah, because you hardly hear about anything like that now. And
Never happened again. Never
no,
happened.
I don't think so. It's too tough now. But crazy. I don't know.
Oh,
who it
I
was,
forgot,
but
forgot one. I better.
who's that?
Ben McElroy that you bought Valley. He also made almost several years in the NFL. So I mean, it was just
Wow.
there was some talent.
Yeah, I bet you it was fun to watch all y'all play. That's NFL talent. Yeah, you see, so whenever I was in school, I graduated 2009. There was actually an Acker, or there was 2. I just don't know who their dad was, but it was, one was on the girls' side, one was on the boys' side. The one that was on the boy, this dude was like 6'4", 210. He was a big old boy, but he was a stud.
There was Jim Bob Acker's daughter actually was a high jumper, and I helped coach her a couple of years while they were with her.
Wow. Yeah. So they're just, it's in their bloodline. That makes a lot more sense. Makes me feel better. You kicked my ass. So you speak about Coach Tate. Were there aside from him, or including him, were there some other people in the town that kind of had a major influence in your life or athletic career?
I don't know. I can't. Very driven. My dad and mom were pretty athletic, and they expected us to compete hard. I saw a picture earlier. My little sister was at the state championship volleyball team. She's still playing volleyball today.
Wow.
Yeah. But I had to pick one. It was Coach Tate. He just changed everything.
And did he help you with I guess like the college process, or was A&M somewhere you decided
The different story. If we're going to go there, I was fortunate enough to win the state high jump championship my senior year. In the process, I got a state record, and Coach Tate had tried to get my name out there. Actually, the guy that probably got my name out there the most was a sports writer from the Radio Times named Salo Latera. He did a really good job of covering sports in South during that time. And I had two scholarship opportunities. One was to a junior college, and one was to Angelo State University. And back in that day, there was a conference called the Lone Star Conference. It was made up of schools in the state of Texas. Texas A&M had a coach named Gil Steinke, and they won multiple national championships down there. The guy that recruited me to Angelo State actually spoke at our athletic banquet, and probably was the only reason he offered me a scholarship because he was here, and I took it. But that's a long that I can tell you whenever you do it now or later.
Oh, do it now. We got all the time.
Well, I won the state championship, and my parents and Coach Tate wanted to play ball. I'd already committed to go to Angelo State. I had a sister going to summer school out there that actually goes to A&M, but she was going to summer school because we had family, grandparents, uncle, and aunt and cousins out there. And as a favor to my parents and Coach Tate, he had gotten hooked up with some of the A&M coaches at coaching school, which coaching school is right before the start of the season. I've agreed to go up to A&M, look around. So I called Angelo State and talked to Coach Smith's secretary, tell her that I'm going to A&M to look around, but not to work. So we go to A&M, and Coach Emery Ballard was the coach, and I'm sitting outside Coach Ballard's office, and a guy named Johnny Don, I'll never forget, Johnny was like 6'8", 270, third team defensive end sitting in the office too. I'm thinking, man, I'm in the wrong place here. And anyway, we meet with the track people. They needed a high jumper, didn't have any scholarship money, and I thanked them for their time and started home. We get home, we find out that Coach S has pulled my sister out of class at Angelo State, wanting to know what the heck I was doing. I called my mom and was rude to my mom. And I talked to him, and he basically tells me that I can come there, but I'm never going to play. And I ain't going to come there to play for you. And so I've about 10 days before practice starts or less than that, and nowhere to go. So we call up the people at A&M and say, you'll take me off. And so I go back to A&M. This is a good story too. So I show up. The freshmen are supposed to be there, and I'll go to Coach Ballard's office, and he sends me over to the football field. The guy was a legend. His name's Billy Pickard. He was forever. He in charge of he was in charge of the track field and everything. I go see Mr. Pickard. Tell him Coach Ballard told me to ask you to get me a uniform. And he looks at me and he says, I will not get you a uniform. I will not be responsible for getting you hurt. So I go back to Ballard's office, tail between my legs, and I said, Coach Ballard, Mr. Pickard won't give me a uniform. He gets on the phone. They have a conversation. I can't repeat it in front of this audience or you, but he says, go back over there and get you a uniform. So I go back. Mimi, they give me the worst stuff you can even imagine. Helmets too small.
Oh, man.
Wore out. And I show up, we have meetings, and I'm there so late, they have a roll call. My name's not on any of the list, so, they get to even call your name, raise my hand. Well, they write it down. So anyway, we start practicing. Back then we ran the wishbone.
Ooh.
We had a fullback, 2 running backs. Oh, I got to back up. We had to weigh in before we started practice. And we had a really good chow. But I ate all I could. About midnight, I went to McDonald's and got 3 hamburgers because I wanted to weigh 150 pounds when we had to weigh in. And I weighed 100, my official weight first. So I get there. My first job is to walk on there and me playing guard, which we know a 100-pound kid ain't gonna play guard. But we ran the wish. So our fullback was a guy named George Woodard, about 6 foot, 260, 265, short, just ball. And his job is to get the guard tackle gap. So my job was to come off the ball so he'd know where the guard tackle gap was. The only problem with that is we had some inside linebackers that were very talented, that their job was to jack me up.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm getting run over from behind, or I'm getting jacked up in front. But it's kind of where God got. And the first several days I was there, and I'm hating it, wanting to come home. You're not going to believe it. This was before cell phone. And we had a memorial student room that had a payphone, had paying phone. And so during this troubling time in my days there, I'd go over to the MC, and there was one phone, and I could put my quarter in it, take my quarter, and I could call my mom, I'd call my girlfriend, and it wouldn't eat my quarter. So with the payphone, if you call in long distance, you get to talk to him, and operator comes on and says you have to pay $2 more. And so I put the quarter in it, and just talk. And anyway, I've about enough. My mom said, "Mom, I didn't sign up for this. This is what they're doing to me. I don't want to do this anymore." And she says, "Well," she says, "I don't care where you go, but you can't come home." And she meant it. And then I was talking to my girlfriend, who's my wife, and I cried to her and just tell her this wasn't good. And she said, "Well, just go to school. You don't have to play ball. Just you don't have to do that." Well, anyway. So we get through about the first week, and we have a scrimmage, and we're supposed to be going live, except for talking. Us walk-ons will be tackling above the way. Well, I gave you a little description of George Woodard and a little description of myself. And so if a 148 guy hits a 260-pound guy above the waist, it's not going to be pretty for somebody.
Nope.
And so we're scrimmaging, and here comes George Woodard, he's running right at me. And I hit him just below the knee. And here comes Coach Cotulla, and he's screaming at me, and he's hollering at me. And it's just trying to make sure it still worked on the tackle. The running back coach came up behind me, and he tapped me on the back and said, "You're all right. You'll be all right. You'll be well." 3 or 4 plays later, here he comes again. And I hit him about 4 inches lower than I did the first time. And that's the last defensive play I ever played. And Coach Collard came in and picked me off, got me out of it. I'm sitting in Kane Hall, line for supper that. Coach comes up behind me and taps me on the back, and it was the offensive coordinator, Tom Wilson. Coach Wilson says, "You're that Whitwell." I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "What do you run the 40 in?" I said, "I can run a 4.5. He said, "You can't run 4.5. I said, "Yeah, Coach Wilson, I can run 4.5. I've never run 1.5, but I knew I could run." Anyway, he said, "Well, I want you to run tomorrow at 4.4. And I said, "Okay." So I show up at practice, and he's there waiting for me, and I'm got full pads on. Can I take any of this stuff off? take your shoulder pads, put your helmet on. I'm going to time it. I said, okay. So there's people wandering around, but really just me and him. And so he goes down the goal line. I get at the 40-yard line, and I'm thinking, he probably won't know if I put my feet on the 40 and my hand on the 39. But I got to run this 4 or 5. And so I do that, and I run. And he looks at his watch, and he says, go run another one. So I go back, and I'm thinking, oh, golly, I didn't feel fast. Maybe I should ease up a little bit more. I cheated just a little bit more. And anyway, I run a second one. He won't tell me what it is, but one of the other coaches come by and says, go make sure this kid's starting on the line. And so I ran back, and I ran my third one. He never did tell me what it was, but everything changed. They put me with the offense. They started letting me do some wide receiver stuff. And so I'm feeling really good. And I go over to make my phone calls to tell everybody, Mimi, and there's a line at my phone booth. There's 4 phones there. I can't get to it. So I sit around there. So I finally get to it, and I put my quarter in it, call my mom, and all of a sudden it comes on and it says, you owe $2. And I didn't have $2.
Oh,
and it
man.
my quarter. So God just carried me through that time. Because as soon as I had good news to say, he took that crutch out from underneath me. But I just give him all the credit and the glory for just getting me there and getting me through all that. And so, make a long story shorter, back then you could only suit up a few X number of players for road games and home games. And they redshirted me, but I got to suit up for the last home game. I got to suit up for the bowl game. Put me on full scholarship.
Wow.
Was able to run track that first year. My freshman year, I ended up 4th in the Southwest Conference in the indoor high jump. My sophomore year, I broke my hand in spring football, so I didn't get. Well, I jumped with a broken hand or thing on my arm, and didn't place in the conference championship, but we won. We were Southwest Conference champs my sophomore year there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I got a good story about that too, if you want me to tell it.
Yeah. Keep going. This is awesome.
We had a guy named Curtis Dickey. The old people know who he was. He was really fast. And Texas had a guy named Johnny Lamb Jones. Johnny Lamb Jones was really fast. And so we're down there high jumping, and we're giving each other a hard time because a couple of years Johnny Lamb had won, and then Curtis Dickey had won. And in fact, my sophomore, junior year, Curtis Dickey was the fastest human on earth in the 100-yard dash. Anyway, so we're talking and trying to give each other a hard time about who's going to win the 100-yard dash. And these guys from Houston show up, and they won't in on it. And they got this guy named Carl Lewis, and none of us we didn't know who Carl Lewis was.
Wow.
He was a freshman at Houston, and I hate to say it, but he won that 100 that day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We know who made his name.
Yeah, he did.
So, you speak about, when you finally got that move from, because I was about to say, on your player profile, it has, and mind you, I did a little research as much as I could find in your sports reference. It had you listed as DB wide receiver at Texas A&M. But whenever, I tried looking for defensive stats, there's nothing. So you just went straight wide receiver from that moment on when the coach came up to you.
Yeah. Coach Ballard made it very clear that day that I was not going to play defense against these guys anymore. And so I was a wide receiver. They redshirted me that freshman year. I lettered 4 years in football, 1 year in track. And when I left A&M, I held the school record for most career reception yardage. Held the Southwest Conference record for yards per catch. I think I still hold the Southwest Conference record for that because it went away shortly after.
Yeah.
But we switched from the wishbone to and threw the ball a little more, so I was there kind of the right time for all of that.
Yeah, because we're showing, your first year, and like you said, you're redshirted. You had 1 reception, 17 yards, and
That
then
was,
your sophomore, 3 for 21, and then
mhm,
after that, you just went off. Talking
yeah,
about 30 receptions, 600, 27 receptions, 731, where you averaged 27.1 yards per catch, or let's see, yards. Oh, yeah, and then yards per game, 66.5.
yeah. Um, my freshman year, I broke my hand early on, and so I didn't get to. It took me a while to get over that to play. Uh, my dad actually had a heart attack that year, and A&M flew me back home to see my dad. Well, actually, I drove. My sister was there, and we drove home, and they came and got me in an airplane
Wow,
to fly me back to College Station to get on a plane to go to Arkansas. My very first college play was the week that my dad had a heart attack, and they let me play in the Arkansas game. And then a couple of weeks later, we played Texas, and they threw me in my first pass. I caught my first pass as a freshman.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, so we kind of talk. I think you're having trouble seeing the pictures. I'm bringing up the Cotulla record, where it brings up the article of you being drafted. But let me share some of your college pictures. I can't. It didn't. The image on this one, it's you catching a touchdown pass because that's what the caption was about. Just don't know what year. It wasn't specifying too clear. Obviously, you're away. You're in a white jersey with the maroon helmet. It's black and white, but if you know A&M, you know their colors, and you know the uniform. So we're showing the viewers. They got an action shot of you catching a touchdown pass, and then you spoke about they did cards, right? That's what that was, the trading card.
Oh, well, they did trading cards, but I don't think they came out till a long time after we got through playing ball. I don't
Oh, okay,
know. I mean, they took pictures, those kind of action looking pictures where you
mm-hmm.
kick your leg up, and they took those every year. But I've had a lot of people send me cards through the years wanting me to sign them and send them back to them, but they
That's
didn't
pretty
show up
cool.
right when we got through. Yeah, they came up later.
So what let's go. What moment hit you where it was you knew you belonged in that position, in that role? Was it a practice, a game? Was there a specific game? How intense were they? Also,
You know, I I think that once I got the chance to play, I knew I could play. I mean, if that makes any sense.
yes, sir.
I was undersized, but one of the things that helped me was I think my official time that A&M had me down, uh, I could run like a 4.48. I think I ran a 4.48 40.
Wow.
So a lot of guys didn't expect me to be as fast and quick as I was, and you know, we talked about it when we were in high school, and it was a thing that Coach Tate brought up, and you know, the game's won by playmakers, and that playmaker may be a lineman, he may be an inside linebacker, but playmakers win games, and I was arrogant enough to call myself a playmaker, and so uh, I I liked the opportunity to make a play, and didn't shy away from it, and had full confidence that I could do it. And so, I mean, that's just kind of. I think I knew once I got a chance, I'd be all right. Just getting that chance.
Yes, sir. So, you mentioned quite a few South Texas gentlemen that also went on to the next level with you. Did you ever face any of them in any games?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I did. Uh, I was well. It's another long story, but I was friends with the Studders from Pearsall. Uh, there was a Cotulla boy named Dickie Graff who we grew up, whose family were in Pearsall, so they moved back to Pearsall, and so I hung out with him a lot. So I knew a lot of those guys. But we were playing. Dave Studdard played for the Broncos, played with Elway and that bunch, and we were
Wow.
we're playing them one time between the third and fourth quarter and walking down there, and he's walking away from me, and I jump up on his back and grab him by the throat in between the third and fourth quarter. He flings me around, and he had some choice words for me, but I played against him. I played against Steve McMichael when he was with the Bears. Played against Van McElroy. He was with the Raiders. I didn't play against Les. He was with the Chiefs, but he didn't stay very long.
Okay.
But anyway, I got to play against them, and it's fun. I mean, I got to play against guys I played college ball with, and then those guys that were here. So it's always fun to play against somebody you know.
That's cool. And you never saw those guys in college, right?
Well, we played Texas. The Studdard boys and Steve McMichaels were all at Texas. They were all UT boys. Bob Taylor, the guy from Somerset, we played against him, or he was on the team. He didn't play that first year when he was at SMU. So I got to play against some of them. Van McElroy was at Baylor, and we had some really good competitions at Baylor. Yeah.
Wow. So here we're getting a little comments. So we have Mr. Mark Nunez. He's a fellow Aggie. He said, "Gig 'em. Love hearing these stories." Mr. Leal. He says he actually met Dante in Ensenada at his ranch a few times.
Yeah. His family's still down there.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's see. Given the amount of talent that y'all faced back in high school, back in the day, do you think that kind of success from small town athletes is it possible today?
Sure it is. People are people. They put their pants on just like everybody else. I got to coach the pleasure to coach several softball teams, but I had two girls. They both played softball a lot. Got to coach some high jumpers from small town places, and maybe they can. You can go anywhere. You can go anywhere and find somebody with more talent. But if anybody outworks you, that's your fault. So you can work as hard to be the best that you can be. And if you're the best you can be, then you go put yourself against to see where you end up, where you stack up. But yeah, there's kids from small towns that can do it. Again, and today, and you know this more than anybody, there's better ways and more ways to get you out there. There's guys that you can pay, and they'll take tapes of you and promote you and try to get you seen. But if you can play, they'll find you.
Oh, absolutely.
They'll find you.
Yeah, especially in today's era, like you said, technology's advanced way more than we've ever seen it. So
yeah,
there's so many platforms that you can just go and put out a video. Funny enough, YouTube's probably a big one.
Yeah.
So I brought up the article, where the Cotulla record showed when you got drafted. What was that moment like when you knew you were going to go pro?
You asked me, or we talked about it. I didn't really think about going pro until really my senior year. I was just hadn't really thought about it, and I got opportunity to go play in the Senior Bowl my senior year, and then I got invited to a combine. It was early stages of combine. It's not like the one in Indianapolis now, but once I got to those, I knew I was going to get drafted. Back then, there was 12 rounds in the draft. I was told I would probably be a mid-round draft choice, and I was. That day I watched some of it. It was one of the first years they covered it on ESPN. I watched some of it, but that first day they had 6 rounds in the first day, and it's kind of late in the day, and I was fixing to go somewhere, and I heard my name called, and I said, "Oh, I got drafted," which didn't. I mean, I was expecting to get drafted, but they weren't covered. It was just in the background. Well, then my phone rang, and it was the Browns telling me that I'd gotten drafted, and they were wanting to fly me out. And I said, okay. And they did. It was exciting. You know, the reality was I knew I was going to. By the time it got there, you knew you were going to get drafted. But then making the team's a whole nother story.
Do you remember what round you went?
I was in the 6th round. I got drafted in the 6th round. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, 162nd overall. Right, 1982.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And I mean, I can't imagine. And I never thought, or I didn't know those 12 rounds. That's long. That's a long draft day. But
they had,
you know,
2 days. They did the first 6 rounds of the first day, and then 7 through 12 the second day.
Yeah, and you know, they've kind of gone through why it's so prolonged nowadays, and it's because they got to do the jersey. They have to have all that custom stuff for them. So that's why it takes so long to get like through or just the first round in general.
Yeah, no, they figured out they can make money on that deal, and it's a big event. But back when we did it, even after the years after I was there, they sent like the head equipment guy and like the third trainer to go man the phones at wherever the draft was. That's who the team sent to fill out the card to send it in. So anyway, it's changed a lot since then.
So what was life like over there in Cleveland?
Well, it's a long ways from Cotulla.
Oh, for sure.
The year I got drafted, we went out on strike. We played 2 games, and then we went out on strike, and we're on strike for I don't remember how many weeks now. It's a long time. We only played 6 regular season games that year, I think.
I was wondering, yeah, because it shows 9 games on your 1982.
Maybe 9. Yeah, maybe 9 games is all we played. I was when I got drafted, the Browns had a guy named Reggie Rucker who started with the Cowboys, but Reggie was a 12 or 13-year vet. They had a guy named Dave Logan who was really tall. He's one of the first guys they did the lob pass in the end zone to. A guy named Ricky Feature, Willis Adams, and Danny Fulton. So they had all those receivers there before I got there. And they drafted a kid in the 5th round, Dwight Walker, who was a wide receiver, and me. So they had 7 receivers going into training camp. And I don't know if you remember a guy by the name of Paul Warfield.
I actually don't. His name does sound familiar, but I can't clearly say.
Paul Warfield was an all-pro receiver for the Cleveland Browns in the 60s and 70s, late 70s. He was number 42. So I get to Cleveland, they give me number 42.
Oh, wow.
I don't want it. He still worked for the organization. He didn't want me to have it, and I didn't want it. But they had an idea. Back then, the offenses had some 3 wide receiver sets, but most of them were 2 wide receiver sets. And so they had this scheme of where they were trying to get somebody that they could use out of the backfield or from a wing position that could maybe be a running back and receiver. And so that's kind of what they thought that Dwight and I would be. And Dwight was built more like a running back, and they figured out soon I was just a wide receiver. And so I'm making cut lists trying to figure out if I can make the team or not. And I cut myself every time. And so we're getting towards the end of the preseason, and my receivers coach was a guy named Rich Cotulla. And well, actually, it was mid preseason when I had the first conversation, because I said, Coach, I can't make this team if you don't let me play special teams. I mean, I said, I'm making cut lists. I don't make this team. So he finally got me on some special teams, and I did well on them. And so we get to the last game. We played the last game. I'm sitting in the dressing room and kind of sad, thinking my football career is over. And he comes by and says, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, I probably played my last football game." He said, "No, you ain't played your last football game." And anyway, Reggie Rucker retired, or either they forced him out or whatever, and they kept me and Dwight, and so we made it. Didn't get to play much offense that first year, probably 3 or 4 plays, but did excel on special teams. And they have a meeting at the end of the season before you go off, and back then they were trying to get a push to get you to stay and work out and be there year round. And I didn't want to spend the winter in Cleveland. And so I had this big speech lined up where I was going to say, no, I'll work out at A&M. I can get them, they'll take care of me, and I'll go home and work out. And anyway, I go into that meeting and sit down, and they tell me that Coach Sam Martigliano was the head coach, and Marty Schottenheimer was the defensive coordinator, and they're both sitting there. And,
wow.
And Marty says, we want you to come play defense. And so, of course, me being me, I have to tell him my defensive story, and said, I ain't played defense, so Coach Blart kicked me off the defense. And he said, we want you to play defense. And I said, well, does it mean I'll get to play? Because I just won't play. He said, well, you'll get to play on defense before you get to play on offense. And I said, well, okay, I guess y'all need to teach me how to play defense. So I went home for a couple of weeks, and then turned around and went back to Cleveland and learned how to play defense. And anyway.
And that was the rest. That was where you stayed at, right? On the free safety side?
Yeah. That's a neat story too. But Clarence Scott was a 12-year veteran, free safety, took me in, showed me anything and everything I needed to know. And if we traveled, my seat was next to Marty Schottenheimer. He was the defensive coordinator, defensive back coach, and so he would coach me up. And we get to the start of the first season of the game, and Scotty and our lockers are next door to each other, right by each other, and they come in and talk to us and say, "Hey, what do you think about you starting, Mike?" And Scotty, "What do you think about Mike starting?" And we hadn't been told. And so we didn't know, and Scotty just said, it's our job just to be the best we can be, and it's their job to decide who plays. And I just thought that was the classiest thing that ever happened, and he supported me and coached me up, and was just great. And anyway, I got to play. It was fun.
That's awesome. So, we have a little request from a viewer,
Sure.
Mark. He said he'd love to hear a welcome to the NFL story.
A welcome to the NFL story?
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome to the NFL story. My very first regular season game was in Seattle, playing the Seattle Seahawks. I'm a wide receiver, not getting to play much. Probably one of the reasons they end up moving me to defense. But very first punt I cover in the NFL, I go down there, get my helmet on the ball, knock the ball loose on the covering a punt, and we recover it. So that was my welcome to the NFL. And we won.
That's awesome. Nice. Heck yeah. How did it feel? Like, did you know? What is that your target, or it was just you just made a clean tackle, having to put your head there?
I just came in, and you're not supposed to duck your head. I ducked my head hit the ball, and the ball came out. We got it. So that's how it worked.
Heck yeah. Now, that's something you can't forget. Is there a specific moment that really sticks with you from playing in the NFL?
There were several, I guess. We had a big rivalry with the Steelers, and they had Bradshaw and Harris and Jack Lambert and all of those guys, and so it was a bitter rivalry, and they couldn't win in Cleveland, and we couldn't win in Pittsburgh. And two of the ones that I remember most is Jack Lambert hit our quarterback Brian Sipe right in front of our bench, and he literally got the dog beat out of him. I mean, everybody on our bench got after him, and when they finally got everybody off, he could barely get up and walk, and they kicked him out of the game for hitting our quarterback. Didn't do anything to anybody on our side for the fight. So that's old school football. We're playing the Oilers. They're in our division. We have to play them twice a year, and we're playing them. And my wife's grandmother and her little brother come up to play, and goes to overtime. And I was fortunate enough to intercept the ball and run it back to about the 20, and we scored on the next play. So that was a highlight too.
Nice. See, and I wish they had stuff up still like that. This spot that I was able to find your stats was it's a pro football reference. It kind of carries everything. So I was trying to look for some game footage, but I guess it's hard to find. So
that was before a lot of the stuff. I mean, we had VHS stuff, tapes, and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't disc or any of that stuff back in the day.
Yeah, a lot of cutting.
Yep, a lot
glued
of cutting
together and the reels. So we have another question. Who was the best running back you ever played against?
Well, one of probably the hardest one to tackle was Earl Campbell. He had huge legs. One of the games that we got to play that was on TV was in Houston. So the people in Texas got to see me, and I hit him once, and I bounced off like a rubber ball on a brick wall. So all my friends and buddies said, you know, they got to see that, but he was probably as good a running back as I had to play against. I played against Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen was very good. They're probably the two best.
What about the toughest receiver you faced? Or quarterback duo, or like receiver quarterback duo?
Well, we played against oh, my brain's not working. We played against well, of course we played against Bradshaw and Swan and all that bunch. Oh shoot. The harder I think apart, maybe the farther it goes away. We played San Diego. Dan Fouts, that's this guy's name. Dan Fouts, and they had two or three really good receivers, and that was Eric Coryell, and we beat them in overtime out there too. They were probably the toughest two. Probably the two best.
Wow. Did you ever play Sweetness?
No, we didn't play Chicago. Well, we played Chicago, but he didn't play. We didn't have to play against him when we played, which was a good thing. He was tough too. And
there's quite a bit of names. You played some Hall of Famers.
It was a tough division. That our division was a tough division, and got to play against Elway in that bunch, and so it was pretty good football.
And were the conferences were different back then, right? Because like you wouldn't play like I don't know. I think now they have division, or is it division? Yeah. Now you have divisions.
Well, but they were still conferences. It's not much different. You had like 4 teams, I think. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, us, and Houston were in our conference.
Oh, okay.
And there's 3 conferences. There's the East, and I don't know. We were the Central and the West. But then every year you'd play one division from the NFC side. So you didn't know. So you'd have to. That varied every year. So you didn't know who you were going to play from that side. But everybody in your division played that same division in the other side, so it'd be equal.
Oh, okay, I got you. That's way different. I think you probably played in probably the toughest era of football, so to speak, especially now. Now you kind of got a pillow fight, and even at that, you might get a big fine for that.
Well, I do tell friends of mine that I probably couldn't play in this day because nearly everything I did is illegal now because you tried to take their heads off, and if they came across the middle, you wanted them not to ever come back, and so a lot of targeting probably.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's tough to be a defensive back nowadays because it's almost like every rule is against you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I say you got to if you tackle them, you got to hold them, put a pillow down, lay them down gently, tuck them in.
Yeah.
So now after football, what was life like for you?
Well, I've had a great life. I was the only son. Was expected to come back and help with the ranching stuff. In fact, my dad had his second heart attack when I was rehabbing my knee in Cleveland. So I had to come back and help while I was rehabbing my knee. And it's been great. I think at the max, we had about 1,000 mother cows at one time scattered from Spofford to Hebronville and everywhere in between. And so it's been a good life. I'd say get to work outdoors and get to hunt and go fish and work cows. And so I can't complain about a thing.
Absolutely. Did you ever have to tackle a cow?
Well, just another true story. When I was young, and even when I was playing ball, a lot of the guys would help us work cattle, and so we'd go down the chute, and my dad and them would turn the calves and stuff around to run them back over the top of us, and so you learn low man wins. and you do. You learn.
Yeah.
You take a calf that weighed 400 or 500 pounds. You get underneath him, you got him, and so. Yes, I've tackled a few cows in my life.
It was a good training, huh? Paid off.
Great training, low man wins. Absolutely was. If calf beat you, then whatever your Pearsall beat you or Dilly beat you or whoever, if the calf won. So anyway, it's good training.
So we got another question from a viewer. Do you have any memories against Tony Dorsett or Drew Pearson from the Cowboys?
No, we played Dallas my rookie season in Dallas. Don't think Tony was there. It was Emerson Walls was a rookie defensive back that was a free agent that was tearing the league up. We only played them that once. I know they beat the fire out of us. I know I recovered an onside kick that game, but I don't think Drew was playing. If he was playing, I was playing on offense, so I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I was playing offense then.
Never had to line up against him or nothing.
Didn't have to line up against him at defense.
So, Mr. Whitwell, are you still involved with football or mentoring any young athletes? Because we had GR on a couple episodes ago, and he mentioned your name.
I've had the privilege to help coach 2 state high jump champions. One was a local guy, Dale Avant, and then a girl from Tilden that won state twice, actually. I've coached softball when my kids were doing that. I probably coached softball 10 years or longer back in the day. If somebody asks me now, I sure don't mind helping high jump. I'm probably too old to coach baseball. So that's about the extent of it, Mimi. I mean, I sure don't mind helping. I haven't done a lot recently, but I'm just getting a little older.
Oh man, you still got a lot to share though. Mr. Avant, that was actually Bubba's brother-in-law. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Bubba's brother-in-law. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned him too, I believe,
yeah.
during his episode.
Sheriff Avent, Sheriff Avent's oldest son, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Johnson.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, we'll do a little reflection. So, what does Cotulla mean to you now, after all these years? The
Cotulla's,
town.
Cotulla's home. Cotulla's home. It's been home where my roots are. Been fortunate enough to spend my life here, except for A&M in Cleveland. Uh, it's changed through the years. Things do change through the years, but it's home.
Oh, yeah. Lots of oil boom going on. And I think that's where we saw the growth. Because even now, my wife's actually from West Texas. So she's used to seeing all those pump jacks and rigs and all that. It was new for us whenever it came around. But,
Yeah.
whenever we take a drive, I'll tell her, look, you see all that over there? That used to be all just one thing. There's trees, and it didn't have so
But
many buildings and hotels.
but for the youth today, for the youth today, because of that, we have great facilities at the high school.
Absolutely.
We have great facilities at the park. So these kids are in some ways a lot more fortunate than we were, because I mean
Yeah.
we were fortunate. I was fortunate that they built a baseball field when I was 9 years old and could play baseball. And
Yeah.
anyway, so
And
they've
we get
got.
to hear those stories.
I'm sorry.
And we got to hear those stories about that field, Mr. I think they eventually named it after Mr. Flowers,
They
correct?
did named it to Johnny Flowers Field, but yeah,
There
several
you
years
go.
after he was gone. But he took great care of that field.
Yeah, that's what my dad said too. He got to play on it a couple years, and he's like, "Oh, he goes, you weren't even afraid to throw yourself because you knew you were gonna be in good shape when you got up."
It was immaculate. It was immaculate.
So here we got another comment, Mr. Leal. I don't know if maybe what if I throw it up? Could you see that? Maybe,
It says,
right? Mike
yeah,
is a legend. He went to school with Morgan. She was a good friend of his back in high school.
it's cool.
Um, Actually, I think Morgan was a part of Little League for a while. Whenever I first started being a board member, I believe
Uh,
that might be the only daughter of yours that I more or
she
less met.
might have. We were well. Uh, Noni and Carla.
Yes, yes,
Carla was probably president at the time or something, and we're close to the Nialis bunch.
yes. Miss Carla did so much for Little League and the community, and she's actually somebody that helped build ours. I always give her a lot of credit because she's actually she was my neighbor. Mr. Nona lives right behind me,
Okay.
and whenever I wanted to start up our youth organization, I was probably bothering her 24/7 for like 6 months straight, telling her, "Oh, Miss Carla, I can't even understand what they're asking me right now." So she helped set this up for us, and may she rest in peace. But she's a big part of what Cotulla Sports Association is right now. So
Nice.
I'll forever be grateful for her. But yes, I remember Morgan. She was a part of the board a couple years. I want to say like 2 years, 3 years. Got to meet her in a couple meetings. Wonderful kids you raised. Which brings me to my next question. When people mention the name Mike Whitwell, what do you hope that they remember?
Well, you know, I've been blessed beyond what I ever deserved. Lord's been so good to us, and I think if they think of me, I would hope that they would think that he was a godly man who was giving and was fortunate enough to have ability to play football. But I would hope they would remember me more for my spiritual side than my physical side.
Amen to that. It's definitely the life you want to leave behind. Um, so the next question is kind of something that I've grown to start asking every guest that I have, especially the ones that have graduated and kind of lived life. For every young athlete here in Cotulla or in any small town that's neighboring us, dreaming big, what advice would you give them?
I think I said it earlier. we can always go somewhere and find somebody that has more talent than us. But if anybody outworks us, it's our fault. So you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And a lot of us say we want things, but what we do is what we believe. People can talk a game, people can talk religion, but what you do is what you believe. And so if you believe you can be an athlete or want to believe an athlete, then you got to do the stuff that it takes to do it. Then you'll find out. But hard work.
Absolutely. And something Coach Booker used to always tell us was, if you think you're working hard, there's somebody working harder. And that was always kind of the mentality that we always carried, especially with him.
Yeah. Like I say, you'll find somebody that's got more talent than you, but you can outwork them. You can outwork them. If you
Absolutely.
don't, it's on you. That's on you. Yep. And we have the benefit of all this heat.
Yeah.
We have the benefit of all this heat.
Yes, and it's funny that you say that. A couple of times that I would attend camp, they'd be a little northern, San Marcos, Houston area. Where's the other one? I think Georgetown was one. I can't remember exactly where I went, but the guys would be complaining. And it's summertime. They, oh man, it's so hot, and this now. I'm like, oh man, like this ain't too bad. I was just because we're on turf.
That's when you say, yeah, sure it is. Let's just go. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just hear him complain. I'm like, oh, these guys wouldn't last a day over there with us, even if they were just fishing near the watering holes. They definitely suffer under that humidity.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Whitwell, is there any final words you'd like to share?
No, Mimi, I appreciate what you're doing, and glad you took time for an old man like me.
Oh, I'm glad he took time for us. Like I said, you're the most requested guest that I've had, and to finally get to make it happen. It's definitely a pleasure, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and the ranch work. I know it's tough. It's needing, and it's kind of from what I experienced with my cousin Aldo. It's definitely something that you can't skip out on.
You got to show up for it too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, sir, and I appreciate. I just have a couple closing things. You're more than welcome to stick around. If you want to log off, it won't do anything to us. So, the choice is yours. If you want to stick around and hear what we got to say.
Okay.
But before you go, let me just say a couple of people. Miss Nicole Nunez said this is awesome. Thank you for sharing all these stories. Your daughter as well, just thanking us for giving you this platform to tell your story. And Mark Nunez is saying thank you, Mr. Whitwell.
Thank
So
them
we
too.
appreciate
All
we
right.
appreciate you, sir.
All right. Be good.
You have a good one.
You too.
All right. Well, I'm excited. That was fun to hear about the legend, from the legend himself. Mr. Whitwell being one of the few athletes that made it to the NFL from our small little community, small town. We talk about, the state run and the 1982 volleyball team making it all the way to state. Now to hear from Mr. Whitwell himself, who had a big journey into the NFL, pro, even in college, hearing about the adversity that he faced and overcoming it to make his way up there. It's a big thank you to him, especially coming from our small town of Cotulla. We know we have a lot of Aggie fans here to this day. A lot of diehards, you can see him down Maine, especially the boat rides and such. His journey is a testament of what hard work, heart, and hometown pride can get you. Serving as being a walk-on, it's definitely, nothing it's definitely not an easier road compared to those scholarship guys. So for him to make it onto that team as a walk-on, growing up in the program, making it to the pros, being one of those many people that, during his time that represented the South Texas area, resonates, with so many of our listeners, especially the young athletes that are chasing that same dream. So a big thank you to Mr. Whitwell. Before we go, I'd like to thank our sponsors that help me, make these these things happen. And first, I'd like give big shout out to ADF Designs, Miss Alyssa Dawn. She's always bringing creativity and precision to life, whether it's custom gear, signs, shirts. Sorry, not signs, but shirts, clothing, apparel. She's always my go-to. She's the first person that I'm reaching out to. She's always sponsoring our littles, basketball teams, whatever we have going on. Big thank you to Chaparral Feed and Supply, the reliable name for your feed, animal care, and ranch supply needs. If you're from around here, you already know they've been taking care of Cotulla for quite a while now. And shout out to JAC Supply, Mr. Jesus Espinosa. If you need it, chances are he's got it in his little shop, from tools to building materials and everything in between. JAC Supply is your one-stop shop, committed to serving our community with pride. And now some summer athlete shout-outs. I'd like to give a shout-out to Ms. Bailey Flores and Cami Miranda, alongside with their entire 12U Legacy softball team and the coaching staff. Keep swinging strong and leading by example, guys. We appreciate you. And to Mr. Pablo Garcia, who's heading to the Nike Outdoor Nationals in Oregon on June 19th. We're rooting for you all the way back home here. We've seen what you've done. The coolest thing is seeing you run with that Cotulla, Texas under your name. So keep doing what you're doing, Pablo. We see you grinding. We see you doing all the hard work. And to his dad, who's always there with him, even coming straight out of work, Big Paws is definitely helping him achieve his goals. Props to Jaslyn and Sergio Olivas, who are currently competing with Divine Speed and Track. Keep chasing that greatness. Keep working your tails off. It's going to pay off in the long run. Big ups to Team Storm, the 12U and 12U softball squads, and their coaches. Thank you for your dedication and building excellence year-round. They're year-round teams that definitely compete in softball in our area. Shout out to Aiden Gonzalez and Alec Leja, two standout high school athletes who are putting in the work in the off-season so that they can dominate this fall. Much love to our 14U softball girls, the South Texas Unwanted, and their coaches representing Cotulla in every inning. Over in the baseball world, big ups to the Alamo City Wolfpack 10U team and Coach Alec, Rick, and Gibby for raising the bar and showing up strong. I'd like to give a shout out to my daughter Audie, Miss Audie Sanchez, and the Babe Ruth League team, their Team Chaos. They finished the year in second place in the end of the year tournament. And also to my little guy, Tres Sanchez, and his team, the T-Rex Terrors, who were coached by my wife, Carmen, alongside with the Consuegras. They did an excellent job being there for all these little kiddos, especially T-ball. T-ball's, to me, definitely hard. It's like herding cats, so they did a great job. And we'd also like to give a shout-out to Mr. Carlos Miranda and his gym, Charlie's Legacy Gym. He has two fighters at the moment, Mr. DJ Miranda and Matt Consuegra. These guys have been going to war in the ring through the guidance of their coach. Y'all are proof that toughness lives here in Cotulla. And also to Miss Jessica and Jezeve Alvarado, who are competing in softball throughout the summer. Big shout out to all our athletes, to every coach, parent, driving the early morning, the late nights. A big thank you to you. Without you, these kids wouldn't be able to make these competitions, and they wouldn't be able to grow as humans, as little athletes. It's tough, and this summer's grind is what builds next season's greatness. And so just keep working, and we see you guys. So with that, I'd like to end our closing statements. See if this works. Sorry, that's loud on my end. I don't know how it is for y'all's. So thank you so much for tuning in, hearing what Mr. Whitwell had to say, hearing the questions. I try to knock out as much as I could. Miss Hoff, there will be a replay. If you just come back to our page soon, I'm sure you could replay the show. It was definitely a great one. It was definitely one that we've anticipated for quite a while. And to make it happen is definitely huge for me, huge for Beyond the Game. The podcast continues to grow. We hope to have, or we will be having more guests real soon. Right now we're working on the Charos, who are a track dynasty. Working on getting Mr. Easy Garcia so we can hear his story, who's currently coaching over in Washington, traveling overseas, doing his basketball thing. He still has his camp. He's still working young athletes. So we're hoping to have him live. And also a good friend of ours, Mr. Rick Morones, who's a boxing promoter but does a lot for the youth. I know he coaches Mr. Ricky J. Ramirez's travel team. So we'll be having him live real soon. So we look forward to these episodes throughout the summer, and we'd love to see the interaction. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it.